Welcome back to Reformation and Revival Now, and I'm continuing my New Year's resolution series. And I took my text from the book of Acts, chapter 1, and I'll read it again. Acts chapter 1, starting with verse 3. To whom he also presented himself alive, after his passion or suffering by many infallible proofs, being seen by them during 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of God. And being assembled together with them, he commanded them not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which he said, Ye have heard from me. For John truly baptized with water, but ye shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. Therefore, when they had come together, they asked him, saying, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? And he said to them, It is not for you to know the times or seasons which the Father has put into his own authority, but ye shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and ye shall be witnesses unto me in Jerusalem, and in all Judea and Samaria, and the end of the earth. Now when he had spoken these things, while they watched, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by him in white apparel, who said, Men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus who was taken up from you in heaven will come in like manner as you saw him go into heaven. And that was the basis for my New Year's message, which is this. Jesus left. The way he left, a cloud received him, and he went up out of their sight. He's going to come back in like manner. And as I said in the first video, Jesus is coming back. That should be your New Year's resolution every year. Jesus is coming back, and he wants you to participate in what I call the billion soul revival harvest. Now, many of you have heard me use that term. Today, I want to explain. I've been in intercessory ministry for a long, long time. And I'm not one of those super spiritual guys that get visions and dreams very often. I just basically receive assignments from the Lord and carry them out. I'm not a prophet. I am a worker. I am an intercessor. Okay? But in my work, from time to time, God does reveal to me things. And years ago, a very good friend of mine, we're still good friends and we work together, and I'm still his intercessor. Because one of my assignments as an intercessor are people. God will assign me a person to pray for. When I was praying in his church, and I've worked under him quite a few years, and I was praying, and as I usually do, I just spend the first time in my prayer life worshiping God. And all of a sudden, I had this open vision. Now, I don't get those that often. And I want to say that because I don't want you to think that people who are spiritual get visions and people who are not spiritual don't get visions. That's not true. God just gives certain people certain gifts depending on what he's doing. Okay? Now in this particular case, he gave me one, an open vision. So in other words, I was wide awake. Okay? I was fully functioning. And all of a sudden, I saw within that building, that church building where I was praying, I saw this huge angel. I don't know if he was Michael or Gabriel. I have no idea what he was. I mean, none. So there's no fanfare here. I don't know what's going on. But one thing I do know is that I wasn't afraid. I was not afraid. Oh, by the way, to those of you who have just joined us, my wife just came up. She has just gone through some surgery, so please say hi to my wife. She needs some encouragement.
You gotta turn the phone.
I can't turn it because I'm making the film right now.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, so anyway, wow. Back to the vision. Well, anyway,
Thank you, sir.
this angel comes to me. Now remember, this angel looks like he's 100 feet tall, but he's in this church. That ceiling can be no more than maybe 15 feet, if it's that. And this guy looked like he was, maybe 50 to 75 feet tall. I don't know. He was huge. But he came to me, and he said to me, do you believe this billions of souls, I forget what number, maybe 7 billion, whatever souls could come to the Lord? And I told him, you're crazy. There's only 7 to 8 billion people in the whole planet. What are you talking about? I actually argued with this giant angel, or whatever it was. And then he looked kind of baffled at me. He turned around and he went back the way he came. And then he was making signals like he was having a discussion with somebody from a distance, but I couldn't see who that was. Then he came back to me again the second time. And then he says, do you believe that 1 billion souls could be won to Jesus Christ? And I said, yeah, I believe that. And he had a look on his face like one of relief. And so he went back again the same way he came the other 2 times. And he had conversation, whoever who he was talking to, he had conversation and then vanished. From that time forward, even though I would not know it until the period I'm living in now, that what God was doing was he was letting me know as an intercessor that there's getting ready to be an incredible harvest. And my unbelief checked him a little bit because it was like God wanted to probably save more. He wanted me to be a part of even more people's salvation than just 1 billion I could believe him for. Well, anyway, I titled that whole experience and the revelation and the calling that came out of that, I call that the 1 billion soul revival harvest. And that was the vision of which that was based. From that time forward, God would begin to deal with me in new ways concerning the harvest. Now, years had gone by, and I had forgotten about that vision. Well, this same pastor, we hooked back up several years later, and he started a wonderful school for pastors. And once again, I received the assignment to pray for him. He took me down, and we began to intercede and pray, as we often did throughout our ministry. And he reminded me right when we were in a prayer meeting. And my pastor friend is a worshiper. He prays, he asks very little and worships 90%. He worships 90% of the time and asks maybe once if he does that. Well, in the middle of worship, he looks at me with a stern face and says, Kevin, do you remember the vision of the angel? Do you remember the angel coming to you and telling you about the souls that are to be born again into the kingdom? And when he told me, I remembered. And I realized that I had forgotten what God had spoken to me and revealed to me. So I've been, in a sense, revived. That everything that God is doing in my life, he's doing for the harvest. And I need to tell you this, those of you who are following Reformation and Revival now, you just need to know, we're not viral by any means of the word. We're so low down the totem pole where that is. But I want you to know several things came out of this ministry. It all started when when God prompted me after surgery to do some videos on YouTube. And then a friend of mine said, why don't you open up a YouTube site? And, well, actually, I started on Facebook. And then a friend of mine said, why don't you do on YouTube? And then you have access to Twitter and all the other type of social network pages. And so I started more than 2 years ago, Reformation and Revival Now. Okay? And since that time, Reformation and Revival Now has gone into 150 nations. 115 nations. Just from a little seed of what God had spoken to me while still recovering from surgery. And even though I only have 50 prescribers who are regular people, but I never knew that God would take this message for so many places. I don't know how many people are listening. The other thing that has happened is that God has opened up an opportunity for my wife and I to minister in Bangladesh because of the correspondence that my wife does with the ministry. One of the sermons somehow got tied into one of the Facebook accounts, which opened up a door for a friend of ours. Now we are in Bangladesh, and God has really opened up opportunities both for them and for us to be able to labor together. Because I want to say, I'm saying all that to say this. How does God want to use you in the harvest? If you will read this discourse in the first chapter of the book of Acts, Jesus says, it is not for you to know the times or seasons which the Father has put into his own hand. It's not for you to know that. But you shall receive power after the Holy Spirit has come. You will receive power. Power for what? You will receive power to minister in the way that God has called you to minister. The Holy Spirit is going to come upon you if you're a janitor. The Holy Spirit is going to come upon you if you're a deacon. The Holy Spirit is going to come upon you if you're a cook. The Holy Spirit is going to come upon you if you're a preacher. The Holy Spirit is going to come upon you if you're a Sunday school teacher. The Holy Spirit is going to come upon you if you're a bus driver. The Holy Spirit is going to come upon you if you're an administrator. Whatever God has called you to do, He is ready to anoint you and use you effectively for this billion-soul revival harvest that is going all over the world. And in fact, God is really taking a special interest to touch Muslim people right now. I tell you right now, Muslim people are just being blessed. They are being blessed in such a way, and they're coming to Christ. They're getting visitations and are often more advanced than most people that are professing to be Christians. Because God said that before the end comes, He's going to preach this gospel to every nation, whether the nation is known by the UN or not. It doesn't matter. God knows where all the nations are, and He's going to take you and I to these nations in some way. And you might say, well, God's not going to take me to the nation. I got to raise a family. I got to do this. You just ask God on your New Year's resolution, Lord, however you want to use me, take me. Let me be a vessel in your hands. Let me be a part of this harvest, because you said the gospel must be published in every nation before the end comes. Well, maybe Jesus hasn't come back yet because we haven't been out there to get the gospel preached to all the nations. Let's not worry about, well, Jesus coming. He's been saying He's coming for 2,000 years, hasn't come. Don't worry about that. Let you and I, in our New Year's resolution, let's get the gospel out. Let's be committed like we've never been before to help people come to the knowledge of Jesus. And if people who are in the Lord, if they're hurting or discouraged, let's make a commitment to help the hurting people. Help those people who have suffered. Help those people that have been rejected. You've got a great call on your life and a great responsibility. Some of you are called to help a pastor. Maybe you're not called to be a pastor, but maybe you're called to help a pastor. Help them. Maybe you're called to help a Sunday school teacher. Maybe you're called to aid a missionary. Aid them. Help them. Whatever you do, do it with all your might. Some of you might be called to pray for me and to help me. Pray for me. You know, me and my wife don't make any money on this stuff. We just do it because God told us to do it as a part, it's a way that we reach out. So this year, I want you to make that resolution to go deeper in Jesus than you ever have before for the sake of the harvest. Not for your own fulfillment, but for the sake of the harvest. This is Brother Kevin asking you to be blessed in your new year and join this billion soul revival harvest. God bless you. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.